Daily Cyber Briefing for Monday, the 13th of February. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Unsurprisingly, there is now a new ESXi ARGS ransomware variant that has emerged after CISO released a decryptor for the previous version. Kind of obvious this was going to happen, but there we go, just to let you know that that is now being seen in the wild. The new variant has got some interesting aspects to it. There are reports that if files are larger than 128 megabytes, only 50% of the data is going to be encrypted, which will make the recovery process a little bit more challenging. And they've removed the Bitcoin address from the ransom note. The attackers are now urging victims to contact them on TOX, as in the TOX messaging service, I would guess, to obtain the wallet information. Threat actors apparently realised that researchers were tracking their payments, and they have therefore done this to make it harder to see what's going on. Keep an eye out, especially if you've been previously hit by the ESXi ARG ransomware. There is some evidence that previous victims are being reinfected. So if you have been part of one of those attack compromises, then be aware there is a new variant coming. Russian government is evaluating giving hackers immunity to prosecution if they're acting in the interests of Russia. Personally thought they'd always done that, but there we go. Perhaps now it just becomes official rather than unofficial. Questionable what redress in law one would have if being attacked by a Russian cybercrime group anyway. I think navigating Russian criminal justice system would be challenging for anyone outside of Russia or the sphere of influence of Russia. However, if the Russian government is actually publicly talking about giving these groups immunity, that puts some weight behind the criticisms that the Russian government sponsors cybercrime groups. This I think goes beyond tolerating them. So there we are. All this will do, I think, is just reduce any disincentives that there may have been amongst some groups in some of the actions that they take. Willing to bet that if they inadvertently attack anything that the Russian government doesn't want attacked, they will feel the full force of the Russian law coming down against them. In the meantime, they're going to continue to attack people in the West, especially anybody associated with the war in Ukraine. I'm sure we've all noticed that the US and in collaboration with Canada and presumably others have been shooting down Chinese balloons. It does strike me as extraordinary that the Chinese would be using balloons as surveillance methods when they have a very extensive network of satellites. However, we'll take it at face value. Off the back of this egregious intrusion into US airspace, the US is looking at blacklisting 6 Chinese entities that are linked to Beijing's aerospace programs as retaliation over the spy balloon events. It does up the ante, I think, for the war of words between China and the US over this stuff. No matter what official press releases come out of China. I think we all know that they're busily hoovering up as much data as they possibly can about everything and anybody and sort it all out later. Yeah, going to be a bit of a spat over this one. Um, Interestingly, I did see today that apparently the US have shot down an octagonal object over, I think, Lake Hudson, which apparently was probably not a Chinese spy balloon. US air, general, whatever, yeah, senior people in the Air Force are refusing to rule out the possibility of aliens. Oh my God, here we go again. And finally, from me today, not terribly exciting set of stuff today, just some interesting things. But hacktivists hacked the Iranian state TV during the president's speech on Revolution Day in what, to me, is reminiscent of the Max Headroom interjection from 1987. Probably not very few people will remember that these days that will be listening to this podcast. But yeah, Max Headroom, he was worth watching. So yes, they managed to take over the state TV and radio station. And posted, well, basically had up logos of a group known as of Ali, and voices shouting "Death to the Islamic Republic." Kind of embarrassing. Haven't seen TV stations being hacked for good few years. Used to be relatively easy. You could just intercept the satellite communications because they weren't authenticated. Much harder now. So, well, there's an interesting one. Undoubtedly, there will be quite severe repercussions within Iran. They're not known to be lenient with people that are disrespectful to the regime. But there we go. I thought that was interesting. So today, yeah, nothing particularly exciting. However, a few interesting bits and pieces over the weekend. Hope you have a good day, and I will be back to speak to you tomorrow morning.